Most people think avoidant personalities are unbreakable, cold, detached, immune to loss. But that belief comes from misunderstanding what's actually happening beneath the surface. The truth is, the avoidant doesn't shut down because they don't feel they shut down because they feel too much, too fast, and without control. And that's exactly why a specific kind of goodbye message doesn't just hurt them. It reorganizes them internally. Here's the part almost no one talks about. Avoidants are not moved by intensity. They are moved by finality, not drama, not tears, not explanations. A clean, grounded goodbye hits a place they didn't even realize was exposed. And once that happens, there's no unseeing it. Most messages people send during separation are driven by panic. They try to explain, convince, clarify, or emotionally anchor the other person. That instinct feels human, but with an avoidant, it backfires. Every extra word gives them room to detach further. Every emotional plea reassures them that they still hold the power. They leave those conversations calmer, not conflicted. That's why this goodbye is different. It doesn't reach for them. It doesn't collapse. It doesn't demand reassurance. It simply closes the door with dignity. And here's why that matters. Avoidants rely on emotional escape routes, distance, ambiguity, open-ended connections. Maybe someday. Let's see. I don't know right now. These phrases aren't accidental. They keep the avoidant safe by preventing emotional finality. A goodbye that is calm and resolved removes that safety net. It creates a psychological dead end. They're not used to navigating. The moment they realize the door isn't being slammed, but it's also not being held open, their nervous system reacts not outwardly, internally, quietly. That's why this kind of goodbye doesn't cause immediate chaos or emotional outbursts. It causes delayed impact, which is far more destabilizing for someone who avoids feelings. Now, here's something even deeper. The avoidant's greatest fear is often mislabeled as abandonment. That's not accurate. Their real fear is emotional exposure without control. They don't fear being left. They fear being seen fully, especially in moments where they can't manage the narrative. When emotions surface that they didn't authorize, it feels threatening. Vulnerability feels like losing autonomy. This is why they retreat the moment intimacy deepens. Not because they don't care, but because caring creates a loss of emotional sovereignty. And when someone sends a goodbye that is composed, self-contained, and emotionally complete, it triggers a very specific response. The avoidant feels exposed without being attacked. There's no conflict to defend against, no drama to disengage from. Just the quiet realization that they mattered enough to be released with respect. That realization is unsettling. Avoidants are used to being the ones who emotionally disengage first. That's how they maintain safety. When the other person does it instead without resentment, without bitterness, it flips the internal hierarchy. Suddenly, the avoidant is no longer the one who escaped or the one who was let go, and that hits a part of the psyche that avoidance usually protects. What makes this even more powerful is the absence of emotional noise. No accusations, no pleading, no moral pressure. The message doesn't say you hurt me. It says I see reality clearly and I'm choosing peace. That kind of clarity forces self-reflection because there's nothing to argue against. There's no villain to assign blame to. There's only the mirror. Now, let's talk about chasing, because this is where most people unknowingly sabotage themselves. Chasing feels like love, but to an avoidant, it feels like relief. Every message reassures them that they're still wanted, still central, still emotionally dominant. It calms their anxiety instead of activating it. And as long as they feel emotionally needed, they don't have to confront what they're losing. That's why long explanations don't work. They allow the avoidant to stay disengaged while the other person does the emotional labor. The avoidant reads, nods internally, and distances themselves further. There's no internal work required. No emotional reckoning, just confirmation that they made the right choice to withdraw. A true goodbye removes that comfort. When you stop chasing, something strange happens. The avoidance mind doesn't feel relief. It feels unfinished. Silence combined with emotional maturity creates an unresolved loop, and unresolved loops are unbearable for someone who avoids emotional processing. That's why the goodbye message must be sent only once. Repetition turns strength into noise. One message becomes an echo. Multiple messages become static. There's also something subtle happening neurologically. Avoidants regulate closeness by controlling access. When access is calmly withdrawn, the nervous system loses its familiar reference point. This does